Hey guys, welcome back to the Conservative Teens for Truth podcast. I am so excited that you guys are here today. And this Sunday, I thought we could talk about how to debate because I know when I did a poll about this the other day, a lot of you guys wanted to know how do I debate, how should you debate, and kind of all topics encompassing that. Thank you guys so much for sticking with this and listening to it and downloading and following and rating and reviewing on Spotify. I'm following on Instagram. It means so much to me. And I'm going to make a routine so that way I can stick to this because I do love to do long form content more so, because I get to talk to you guys one-on-one for way longer than just a 30-second Instagram reel. And get into the topic of conversation though, because I've been yapping for almost 3 minutes. But how to debate. I have had so many debates that have gone bad, that have gone really good, and that have felt like have gone nowhere. So I feel like I have a lot of experience, as well as I've had online debates, which I think it's even harder when it's online versus in person. So if you're going to debate someone, I would say, especially starting out, do it in person. But this is kind of like my take on debate. So this is not like set in stone, as you guys probably already know. You're like, Celia, this is not set in stone. This is not how everyone sees debating. But I just wanted to clarify that and kind of talk about how I see debating and all that stuff. So let's actually get into it because I just keep yapping. But for me, debate, I see it as more of two sides disagreeing, talking about their disagreements. So I don't see debating as trying to win an argument. And I know some people do see it as that, but I feel like when you see it as trying to win an argument, you close off so many opportunities that you could have used. And the reason why I say that is because going into a debate, at least the way I view it, is I'm not trying to change that person's opinion. I'm just trying to understand where they're coming from, and I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation they'll understand where I'm coming from. It's not to win an argument, it's not to win an objective, none of that stuff, because I feel like it also never works out for you when you try to do that. It's never going to work trying to convert someone, trying to change their mind, because they already have their beliefs, they already have how they roll, basically, essentially, and they're not just going to stop believing that because of one thing that you said, but you can open their mind to different arguments, to different topics, to facts. So that's how I view debating, is two parties who disagree are having a conversation about their disagreements and trying to have an open mind. Now, here's where I think things will go awry for you in a debate. So this is what not to do. So don't get heated in the debate. I know there's probably going to be several times where you're going to want to yell out, but this is common sense. You're going to want to get upset. You're going to want to kind of voice your opinions, and there's nothing wrong with voicing your opinions, but you want to be careful, right? You don't want to get upset. You don't want to kind of raise your voice, try to get angry, because you can say the truth quietly and it's still going to get to someone. You don't have to yell it from the rooftops. You can say it the way it needs to be said without getting angry, because I also feel like when you get angry, it just kind of shuts your logic down, right? You're in your emotion, you're in your adrenaline, your brain is kind of just speaking in the moment without actually realizing the objective or what you're trying to say or what you're trying to get at. And that's what I think is really important. You can't just go boom, 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 and then it's just like, whoa, I actually didn't really think of what I was saying. I said something in the heat of the moment. So try to stay in your logical brain whenever you're doing this and don't unleash. I know it can be very tempting and very easy to, but don't do it. As well as on the opposite side, if someone is unleashing on you and someone is upset at you, kind of getting their hands in your face and just getting really angry, the debate is already over at that point, right? Because the person has closed their mind off. They're upset. They're now in their defenses. And nothing you can do is going to make them settle down, is going to make them kind of re-understand what you're coming from, because their defenses are up. So I would say the debate is probably just over at that point. I would just kind of smooth it out and leave it the way it is, because unfortunately you guys were not able to have a good conversation of where you were coming from. Now also in a debate, if you are coming from the perspective of I'm right, look at me, I have all the facts, I am correct and you are wrong, that also isn't good, because then the other person's going to be like, well, they're not even validating where I'm coming from, what my beliefs are. They're just like, me, I'm right, you're wrong, without even giving me a chance to talk, to express my emotions, So I think that we should also try to be aware of that and not just spew out like, hey, I'm right just because I believe that abortion is good, or I'm right just because I believe that abortion is evil, right? You have to kind of say, okay, this is going to be a middle ground. This is going to be not I'm right, you're wrong, but it's going to be these are my beliefs. What are yours? Let's talk about it. And that's why I like coming from that perspective of not trying to win an argument, because I feel like the debate will get very hostile whenever you're coming from the perspective of I'm trying to win an argument, and that's not going to really help you. The second thing I would say is having a lot of handy facts already ready. So you're read up, you're, as I like to say, knowledged up, even though that's not a word, because you have done the time to research it, you have facts on hand, and you can even search it up in that moment. If you don't know, you could say, you know what, let me search it up. Let me just do a quick search. Let me just talk about it. Let me think about it. Let me pray over it. And you can do a quick Google search because we have the internet at our fingertips, which is such a helpful kind of tool in debating. But I would say when you have facts handy on you, it makes it so much easier to just be like, okay, well, I do know this. And facts do help in an argument, in a debate, because when you're having a conversation, you're not eliminating the facts or the feelings either. You're kind of trying to intertwine both of them. But having facts on you that is handy is going to be really important, as well as if you're a Christian, knowing the Bible, because there's many times when I have been in a debate where the liberal or the non-believer will try to twist the word and say, but Jesus said this. And it is very easy to take the Bible out of context to fit your narrative, but when you read it in context, it shows a very clear picture. And that's what I tell everyone. Look, you can use the Bible and you can take something out of context to completely twist it into what your narrative has. But the Bible is not going to be fit into any narrative. The Bible is the Bible. It is God's laws. They do not change. And when you read them in context, they paint a very clear picture, not a gray area, but a black and white of morals and immoral of what we need to do and what we shouldn't do, because God has left us with that wonderful book that tells us. And so when you know your facts, when you know the Bible, they can't twist it, they can't make it in a way that is not helpful. So doing that, knowing the Bible, is going to be so important. So they can't twist scripture into what their own personal narrative is. So I see that I'm kind of running out of time because I do have to get somewhere and I have been yapping, but I hope some of those tips has helped. I am going to do a part 2 of this next week of how to debate, because I feel like I only scratched the surface of a lot of good tips. But the thing I am going to leave you is don't fight fire with fire, right? If they're just trying to come at you from the emotional perspective, try to lean it back into the logical. If they're just coming from the logical, try to lean it a little bit back to center, right? You want an intertwine of those facts and feelings, and you want to be able to talk to someone like grown adults, like people who know how to communicate, and you can talk about your feelings, you can talk about your beliefs without having to eliminate the other. That's what's so great about America, is we're able to coexist, we're able to love each other and to hang out and to be good friends, even if we don't agree in the same thing, and even if we don't believe in the same thing. And that's just something to keep in your back pocket and to think of. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and bye.